So who has shot really low budget music videos? I've shot a bunch of music videos where they're in an open field and it felt like we were doing it every single week and it just got incredibly boring and you were just thinking, how am I gonna make this look good? And then unfortunately you kind of get stuck in a routine where you're like, slider move here, glide cam move here, do some slow-mo here. I got very annoyed with that, and when bands did have money to hire bigger locations and cool ass locations, they would make so much money from the location for just opening up the door, letting you guys in, and you wouldn't make as much as them for doing all the hard work. So it got a little bit stressful. So I had this garage in my old house. I'll do one music video in there and I'll see what it looks like. It was just your standard garage at the time, just some posters on the wall, the band rocking out, a couple of lights, nothing too crazy. And then when I finished that one, I thought, no wonder if I can build some sets in here. If I can build some sets, I can probably get about 7 or 8 different music videos. Now at this time, I was fed up with music videos, so I thought I'll give this the last shot, kick out 7 or 8 music videos, see how many different looks I can get. And it worked out pretty well. So I thought I'd share some secrets. But before I dive into that, to show you some setups and how I did some workarounds on some things. Some of the best tricks you can do for music videos when you're shooting low budget is the main problem with music videos is noise. Noise is an absolute nightmare. So anytime you cannot lug a PA around, because when you lug a PA around, sometimes you need a generator, and getting a generator is a pain in the ass because you got to lug that thing all the way into the field. It just becomes a nightmare. So if you can somehow run the music off of a laptop and feed some kind of Wi-Fi headphones into the band's ears and hide the headphones like right in there, but other times you're going to need that PA, you're going to need that generator, so you can't avoid that. But one thing drummers hate is when you mess with their kit, but you have to mess with their kit to get the sound and the levels right. Cymbals are probably one of the loudest. So you're gonna have to tape the hell out of those cymbals. Another good way to do it is if you had 2 cymbals that are exactly the same and you just put them on top of each other. But cymbals are expensive, drummers don't really have that, and you can't really hire 2 cymbals. So the only way around it is to tape it. With the tom heads and the snares and things like that is to dampen them way down so they're barely even on, so you don't have much power out of them, and stuff pillows inside as long as you can hide it. Some of the close-up shots that you do with the drums, you can put it back to normal and put up with the loudness for a second just so things look more realistic. But for like the wider shots, I suggest doing that to keep the sound levels down, especially if you are in your garage. I've had so many funny stories from music videos that I shot. I had a band show up once with a tiny little orange cab. Oh, can you make loads of stacks of cabs and make it look amazing, and it's gonna be awesome, and make it look like we have thousands of stacks behind us and it looked really, really cool. And I was just like, what do you mean? It's like, what this band does, they have fake cabs. And I'm like, no, those are real cabs, there's just nothing in them. So they wanted me to make this little cab into stacks of Marshall cabinets behind them with Photoshop or After Effects, and I was just like, there's no way in hell I'm gonna do that, and I'm not sitting behind After Effects and motion tracking every single shot with loads of cabs. That was crazy. So for now, let me show you what I did with my garage and how I got loads of different sets out of it for a fairly low budget, and let's jump right into it. Okay, so here we are in the garage. This is the first time I did it, and I bought some lights from IKEA for just some background, and some other lights I bought, which you'll see in a second. I wanted the flare. As you can see, we got the flares going on around here and back up here. And that was pretty much the setup for the first garage scene. Pretty cheap. Now, the second one that I did, the same setup, it just went for a party kind of vibe. So we just made sure we had loads of people in the garage as if you were in a house kind of vibe. So here's the setup for that. So same garage, same sort of setup, just pointing different way. Now the third setup, this one was kind of funny. It wasn't set building, but for some reason I wanted loads and loads of flour on the floor, kind of like snow kind of vibe inside a set. So I bought loads of bags of flour, just your typical flour from stores. I had to find the biggest bags I could, and as you can see, I poured it down all over here. Now that was one bag, and I had to cover all of this, and I wanted it a bit higher than that. So I can't even remember how many bags I had to buy in the end, but I was getting close to finishing it. And funny story about this is the next day after this shoot, I had to fly to Spain, and this stuff was all over my gear. And I was panicking that they weren't gonna let me on the plane because they thought I was some kind of drug dealer or something like that. So this wasn't the smartest shoot to do. So let's jump in for a quick scene of that. And this is the setup for that shoot. So very dark, very kind of, it's a different scene, but I just wanted it, just a bit more atmosphere going on in this video and keep it separate from the other one. So that's that scene. The next setup that I did, I wasn't set building, it was a heavy band. I was playing around with projectors. So I had a projector going through a Mac at the time, and it was just blasting it on the back of the wall of the garage. And I shot the footage the day before, and I projected the footage that I shot the day before through the projector, telling the narrative of that story as the band's performing. So this is how that looked in the garage. So I wanted to blend the footage together, so this is the footage, and then it gets displayed through the projector on the wall for that. And this one's kind of cool. Let me jump into what this looks like, because this one's kind of funny. So this is the setup. As you can see, the garage is tiny. So I tried my best to get the most out of what I had. So the garage door is here, and these are just black sheets from any store, Asda, Tesco, Walmart, wherever you want to go. So I just got loads of black sheets. Make sure they weren't not so reflective, just cotton. And these are just hire lights from any hire company that works with roadworks, things like that. And my awesome things down here are just black bags, because they were a bright yellow, these bottoms, and I didn't want them showing up. So at the time, I only had these black bags. And as you can see, I just got some light panels here for some fill light, while these tubes are doing most of the work. Check out how massive this bag is. This was my travel bag with all my gear. Thank God I don't use that anymore. Homemade dolly pipes and 5D right here. And that's pretty much the setup for that. Another one here. Good old Marshall monitor on the top. And as you can see, it looks pretty crappy there. You would think, oh my God, what's going on? And if I was that band, I would be thinking, why the hell am I paying this guy? This looks terrible. Here's the setup for that, what I got out of the room. And another thing that drummers love that I did, I would always cover the drum kit with either water, flour, sand, dirt, because I just loved the way it looked when they were pounding the crap out of their kit. Not many drummers let you do that, so I really had to sweet talk them. And when they saw the footage after it, they were happy. For a garage, and once again, it looks very different than these and very different from these. The next setup, so this one is funny because I always walk our dogs in this forest, in this woods, and we always walk past this old house. You can't go in there, and it just looked kind of cool, and I tried to get access to this house, and they said you can't go in there, you can't even pay to go in there, it's not very safe. That's when I got the idea to start building sets, so I thought, what would that look like if I was in there? I had no clue about building sets, so I thought just a bunch of walls, some wallpaper, things like that. But the thing that got stuck was this garage door. I needed to shut this door for more room and to dampen the sound of the bands that are in there. So I built most of the sets, but in the end I needed help with one of the doors, so I had to build one of the doors on a hinge that would slide open. So I had to get one of these guys that my dad knew to help me swing the door in and out. So basically the door was here that we built, and it would swing open, so the garage door would open, and then when you shut it, the door would swing back. And I would wallpaper it differently for each band. And another good way to build sets is, you know, get your dad to help in, which was really nice. He helped me with the wallpaper sometimes, made a nice coffee, make sure he had some sandwiches and stuff. This is one of the last doors that I was talking about that would swing open. And here's another scene. This was when we were nearly done. I didn't want the walls to be plain wallpaper, and I was thinking, you know, this looks kind of grubby, so I'd imagine inside wouldn't be pristine. So I dirtied up the walls, got some cheap lamps from IKEA, built some electrics through here to get some light so I can do some flickering. And that was pretty much it. And then the other side of this wall, I bought some beams, and I just cut through the beams so we can get some cool light coming through and some cool visuals. And the setup I got for that was this pretty here. So they were rocking out. I think it looks pretty cool. And all I wanted to achieve was just different looks. And in my mind, you would never know that this is in a garage, and you would never know it's the same as this one, same as this one, or this one if it plays, or this one here, and this one. And I think one of the last ones I did was I rearranged the wallpaper again, and I had some light bulbs coming down from the ceiling, so I just wired up the lights differently. These from my IKEA as well. I should get some sponsorship going on. And I just wired them differently through loads of different extension cables. And I had a friend on the side flicking the switches. So when they flicked the switch, this would change each one because they were wired up differently through different extension cables. So once again, this is in the garage, different wallpaper setup, and let's see what this one looks like. And this scene was just outside in the yard. Like I said, you're always in a field. So I just lit it dark, and I had some cool creepy hands coming in because I was really, really bored of shooting bands in a field. So yeah, I think it came out cool for the style of the thing. So once again, as you can see, we started off just normal garage again, but a party scene. Normal garage again with loads and loads of flour. Garage with some projector kind of style stuff. Just some cool tube lights in the garage. A cool little setup. And the last one with some lights. So once again, I hope this helps you out and you're digging the content, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.